Hello and welcome to the Bowling University studio from the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. Welcome to the Profit Break. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. Give us 15 minutes and you'll be well on your way to improving yourself and your profitability. Well, there is no question that centers with less than 16 lanes that are in a small market face unique challenges to running their day-to-day operation. Executing basic best practices in this environment is often easier said than done, especially in the food and beverage operation. On today's episode, our guest is Steve Cieslewicz, proprietor of Whitetail Lanes in beautiful Amherst Junction, Wisconsin. Now, Whitetail Lanes could be the poster center for small market centers, yet Steve has managed to create a thriving food and beverage operation. Steve is here to share his insights on what it takes to build and grow a successful food and beverage operation in a small market center. Steve, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
This will be fun. Hopefully I said your name okay. You make mine look like Smith, so but I'm sure you're used to it.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. So hey, let's jump right into it because we've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. Why don't you start us all off by tell us a little bit about your center, where are you at, how long have you been there, all that good stuff. What's your org structure like, how many lanes, and so on. What do you got?
Sure. Yeah, so we're located in Amherst Junction, Wisconsin, like right dead center in the state of Wisconsin. We're in about three little towns of about 1,500 people. Yeah, that's right. 1,500 in about a 5-mile radius. So pretty small. We started off in 2003. We bought the center, and after about a year into it, we had about 7 employees. We decided to add on to more of a full-size kitchen. Our 5x6 kitchen wasn't working. We had too many people walking out. We couldn't get served, so we added on a 16 by 26 kitchen. This dining room right here. It seats 72 people, walk-in freezers, walk-in coolers. Sure, we budgeted $200,000, spent $300,000. You know how that works. Now we offer a full-size menu, and we employ about 30 to 32 people. And it's been great. It was a little struggle off the get-go. The revenue stream wasn't there, but it took about 4 to 5 years before we kind of developed that and made a name for ourselves. So it's fun. It's been a good run. Mm-hmm. So 21 years later, here we are.
Wow. So you didn't inherit that operation. You took it and then you recognized that there was an opportunity and then added on and built and grew from there, right? Especially in a small town.
It was close. Wow. It was a close center.
Wow. And that's amazing. 1,500 people in a 5-mile radius. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yet you managed to survive quite well. So you know what? Why don't you break it down a little bit for us? Tell us your revenue streams. How much you get from bowling percentage-wise. How much do you get from food? How much you get from bars? Just give us a sense of what your operation's like.
Sure. Yeah. So good question. So again, 21 years ago, we bought a 8-lane bowling center. With a bar and a snack bar. We now own a full-service restaurant with a bar and 8 lanes. So it's really kind of did a 180 on us. 77% of my business comes from food and beverage. 45% food, 32% bar. The rest is bowling, pro shop, vending, and so forth. But 77% is a driving force of this business, bar and food. So,
wow, that's incredible. Now, I like the way you said that. It was bowling driven, but now it's food driven, food and bar driven. Did you have any previous experience in the food and beverage world or education in food and beverage?
I have not actually. I like bowling, and that's really what I wanted to buy a bowling alley, and the food thing just kind of grew on me, and it was just like I knew what I liked. I served really good food. Tried to do the best I could with the little I had, and we just grew it on our core values: quality, consistency. Those are two mainstays of our business. So, quality, consistency, and if you serve good food, people will come.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Okay. Well, so it's been a journey, and you learned along the way. Tell us a little bit about how you manage. Let's talk overall at first. How you manage the overall business. I mean, you have a P&L, do you rely on a P&L if you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been doing some center consulting and some work in the industry. And one of the main things that I found, and I was guilty as sin when I first started out, I went 10 years without looking at a P&L. And I'm like, those things that you wish you didn't know when you started up before, I just did what I knew. I just started running it. And I thought a P&L was something that you did at the end of the year with your accountant. Like, you go over this stuff. Oh, was I wrong? I look at our P&L monthly. It took me about 10 years. But the problem was I had my accountant do a P&L for me, but it took my accountant 4 months on average to get those numbers back to me, which is, you can't have that. You have to have it in a timely manner. And what happened was about 9 years ago, I was doing that, and my accountant was so late on getting them to me. I had a girl stealing from me, and it took me for over $30,000 before I figured out what she was doing. Because if I'd have been looking at my numbers in the P&L, I would have noticed that a lot sooner. So basically, I break it down: food, beverage, bowling, whatever, and then I go month to month, and then I go calendar year to calendar year, same month. So I can look back at April to April. My God, I was really up this April, but last April I was way down. What happened? And I also take my food and beverage numbers, my food percentages and my bar percentages. Those are the key driving factors. And I keep a spreadsheet of what my percentages every month for the last how many years. And I see if I see a trend coming in, because we have new managers, we have new cooks, and you can identify theft a lot more or spoilage, and it makes you really look at your numbers. You start counting pennies instead of dimes, and that's so important in the business. And if you don't have a P&L, even if it's a small one, just with food and beverage, look at it, have a reportable number, and that way it's a measurable number. You can give your staff raises. Hey, we kept our costs controlled for the last few months. We're going to give you guys a raise. We're making money. So again, it's identify numbers. And if you don't have that, you don't know what you don't know. And that's really the key factor.
Yeah. You know what? That was a hard lesson that you learned back there with that employee. But you know what? I think more often than not, sometimes we all think, well, nobody's stealing from me. If that's, I've been around long enough that's probably not true. If you're not watching your numbers, somebody's stealing from you. So hard lesson, but a valuable lesson. Thanks for sharing it with our folks. So on that P&L, okay, so when you get that, let's just drill down a little bit more into the food and beverage part of it. You mentioned a few things that you're looking at. Tell us again, what's the important data that you review? So you say you get a monthly P&L. So what is the important data because you do quite a hefty number of food and beverage business. So what are you looking at in terms of revenue, and then what are you looking at in terms of cost control on that monthly basis so that you can stay ahead of that curve?
Yeah, it's a good number. They always tell us in the industry we need to do inventory, daily inventory or weekly inventory. It's a hard number to push because we're so busy in our daily lives and just trying to manufacture or keep the group together, and try to make everybody flow in the business flow. But the numbers really that I pay attention to is food costs. And then I break down our liquor costs, our tap beer costs, our fountain soda costs, make sure that we're in the right market, because we have to look at it. Again, I do it monthly. Sometimes I get a little more time in the summer because we're not as busy. I'll break it down every couple of weeks. But knowing those numbers as far as food costs, like how much, because you have your perceived cost, right? We know what the menu is going to be, our perceived cost on the menu, but really, what is your actual cost? It's in your P&L, because you could have a 32% food cost, but at the end of the day, it could be a 48% because you have theft, spoilage, over ordering, inventory on the shelf, and that's where you start to ask yourself questions, and all of a sudden you go into your QuickBooks, and you're like, oh, that's right, we bought 100 cases of chicken because it was on deal, so it's going to offset on the next month. So okay, now you understand why your numbers were high or food costs were high. But so again, it makes you ask questions, and if you don't, again, we don't know what we don't know. So that's really the key.
That's a very good point. I mean, it's not telling you the story. Your P&L is not necessarily telling you the whole story. It's leading you down a path to ask the right questions. Thanks for bringing that up. And that's
Yep.
also a good point. From what you just said, I think that you've costed out all of your menu items. I've seen your menu. You have a lot of items on there. You've costed everything out, I would think, right? So you have a standard recipe for all of those things? Okay.
Yep.
And then you also have
Yes, we do.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, we have a little food cost calculator from the Bowling University that we handed out, and it works great. Just plug it in. It's a thumb drive, and it does it for you. You just type in your numbers and gives you your food cost percentage, and it really works well. We also have a spreadsheet we keep track of it on, but I think it's actually on the Bowling University website, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what? That's a big part of looking at those costs. And as you also said, then you have to take what your sales are, because you may be thinking that, if you price that burger out at 32, but that may not be what the end result is. And there's a lot of factors. So to your point, it creates questions that you start to dig into. And if you wait 4 months to get that information, you ain't going to find it. So that's very good advice.
That's money out the door.
You bet. And I love your point about it with the way you include the employees, that, if you're doing well, you share it with them and you tell them that. So is it hard finding help up there?
And that's really a key factor too. So your managers, your kitchen managers, your bar managers, your key employees, they want to know how you are doing. You don't have to give them all the numbers we made X amount this month or whatever, but keeping them in the loop. I try to do monthly meetings with my key staff. Sit down. Hey, we did a good month. Hey, here's where we did last month. We struggled. We lost a lot of money in this part of the business because we didn't have all the things in place to be successful. But keeping them in the loop really drives them to do a better job for you. And once you create that, they will want to stay with you. They feel more engaged, and that's really the key. And as far as employees, it's tough to find employees everywhere. We do a pretty good job of getting employees, and just keeping the workload light. It's the atmosphere, create the atmosphere, and that's really the key. Once you create that atmosphere, you got good food, it'll drive itself.
The rest goes. Yeah. Good point. From what I'm hearing, you're doing your best to create a positive culture, which that's what keeps people around. And I love that you share information, because if you don't, they see the place hopping, your lanes are full, everybody's eating, they just think you're rolling in dough. So that's great advice also. Let me ask you this.
The atmosphere is right, but...
No, we've got a little delay there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We talk about advertising and how do you promote your business. There's it's about building that brand. Once you build that brand, our name's all over the place with sweatshirts, hats. We've got bowling balls with our name on it. But once our biggest advertisement is word of mouth. You'd be surprised how much word of mouth really travels. And when new people come in, I ask the question, how'd you hear about us? Well, so-and-so told us about it. So we got to come try your crab rangoons. We got to come try this new burger you got. We got to come try. This is a nice place. And well, thank you very much. And just goes a long way. It really does. And that's pretty cheap advertising, word of mouth.
Yeah. And it is the best, I would agree. Do you use social media at all?
Oh, yeah. And here's the key thing. We're only one person. I got my sister-in-law. She's kind of our bar manager. My son, he's in the business. He's a social media guru. He helps out in the pro shop. And it's really hard when you try to do it all yourself, because you get caught up in your business and you're working in your business instead of on your business. And, and I found out a long time ago that, as soon as you can, you hire your weakness. So I'm not good at social media. My son, he's good with that. Does the website stuff. My bar manager, she's good at the payroll, the HR stuff. That's great. Again, it allows me to do the things I do, to run the business instead of working in it. So, and that's really what helps me be successful.
Good point. Good stuff. Hey, we got time for one more quick question. Pricing's always a sensitive issue, especially nowadays. How often do you review your prices and make changes?
That's a great question. Typically, we don't let it go more than 6 months. But typically, every quarter, I take a look at it. just with my kitchen manager. I sit down and have a meeting with him. How's things going? What are you seeing? Again, I'm not doing the ordering every day. He's the one seeing it. And I notice this has gone way up. Maybe we should address that a little sooner, but for sure, at least twice a year, we get out a new menu. As you can see it on the screen there, pictures sell. Those pictures are my most profitable items on the menu. So when you see a picture, you want to look at your menu and go, wow, I want that, I want that. And as long as the food looks just like that picture, you're in good shape, because that's very important.
Yeah, good point. So it is a good looking menu. So you know what, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. I think your words to your fellow proprietors have so much meaning, because you're somebody that has taken this center from where it was to where it is, and you're living it day in and day out in a small market, in a small center. So thank you for sharing that. It's very much appreciated.
I appreciate that. And again, like 10 years of my life, I spent figuring this stuff out on my own. I wish there was something like this that I could have went to get smarter a little faster. But because of my mistakes, it made me a lot better proprietor. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So to everybody, hey, if you'd like to connect with Steve and learn a little bit more, feel free to reach out to him via email or visit his website. If you're ready to start improving your profitability, you can reach us anytime at education@bpaa.com. As we wrap up another edition of the Profit Break, remember that when your focus is on growing people, people will grow your business. This episode, as well as all our previous Profit Break episodes, are available 24/7 for you and your team at bowlinuniversity.net. Plus, new episodes are available every month, so mark your calendar, watch your email, and join us on Facebook to hear about the latest episodes. Until then, I'm John Karabatsis, and do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. We'll see you next time.